in for my man Hank Xavier. Basically, he couldn't be in today, so we're going to go ahead and fill in for him. You could check me out. I'm on Ron Paul Radio. It's Occupy the Media, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Again, Occupy the Media, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget to donate if you haven't. RonPaul2012.com. We got to reach $2.5 million. I know it's tough out there. I know it's hard. We're struggling. But we got to keep the movement going. We're winning. All we got to do is stay in the race. We just got to stay in the race. All right, so again, RonPaul2012.com and give what you can. Now, on today's show, we're going to touch on a couple of things, couple of headlines here. We're going to talk about a former Santorum supporter explains his switch to Ron Paul. Real interesting there. We need to pass that around and get the word out there. Hopefully some other Santorum supporters will check it out as well. And also, speaking of Rick Santorum declines the endorsement Romney, coming from the LA Times on April 16th. And also, we have an article. This was back in March, but I want to talk about this because I didn't really hear about it, so I don't think it got out there like that. I think it's really important. March 24th, upstate New York public school bans the use of the word freedom. So we'll talk about that. And also, coming up later in the show, I have a clip I want to play you that was on CNN in regards to an unarmed elderly veteran gets tased and killed by the police. So this is just to show more signs of this police state, that we're going through. What's going on in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, everywhere. It's just going to turn on us. The weapons, the spying, the drones, everything's going to turn on us. And also coming up later, two other things. We got Obama says no to legalizing drugs, which that's not really a surprise there. And a video from CNN titled The New Cold War. I got a clip there. And I want to talk about how that segment particularly is directed to Ron Paul supporters and to combat what Ron Paul be saying about Iran, and I want to play that. But first, let's get into this. Former Santorum supporter explains his switch to Ron Paul. Last night, as a part of this exquisite-like quest, I ventured into the heretofore unexplored dimension of a Ron Paul rally and was witness to something that can only be described as all parts exhilarating, befuddling, encouraging, depressing, moving, maddening, and ultimately inspiring. More on all that later. Over the years, I have been to more political rallies, events, forums, roundtables, discussion groups, debates, and whatever than I care to remember. Attending a Ron Paul campaign rally is a singularly unique experience. I have never seen anything like it before. Perhaps phenomenal is the word that comes closest in accuracy, not in the ordinary awesome sense, but in the otherworldly temporal sense. And I can't even say that word. This dude said a lot of big words. I have spoken before a lot of groups in the last several years as we have all grappled with the seeming dissolution of our country. My point has been that the greatest issue facing the conservative cause is a demographical one. A lack of diversity that will surely render the conservative message irrelevant. Where are the youth? I and others have asked. Where are the people of color? Why doesn't the conservative message resonate? Now, it's because the message of conservatism doesn't direct to everyone except Ron Paul because he's an actual conservative, and that's the reason why. They talk it, they don't live it. The answer to where they are could be found last night at the Will Rogers Auditorium. Often at political events, there is a sense of excitement, anticipation, a certain buzz in the audience while waiting for the main event. Excitement, anticipation, and buzz are weak and inadequate words to describe the pre-rally crowd last night. Energy is even inadequate. Through the thousands who thronged outside before the doors opened last night was the kinetic power, the power of hope, the power of liberation, the power of anger at a system turned upside down, the power of liberation, and yes, the ultimate and emancipating power of freedom. You had to be there to understand it, and I can attest to that because I was at UCLA. It was beautiful. So many people, different backgrounds, all of us coming together for freedom. You can't see it on a YouTube video. You can't read about it. You got to be there. You got to feel it. You got to go through it. It's like a family reunion with a bunch of family members you never met before, but, it's family. Now, once inside, for the only time in my political active life, I was transported to a world I had not seen before. There was enough energy in that room to power a skyscraper. Teenagers, college students, whites, Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, middle-aged, elderly, every racial ethnic, socioeconomic, cross-cultural ingredient of the American melting pot was there. The auditorium was a cauldron of American citizens who understand and have grasped the true nature of the tyranny which has befallen this nation. A conflagration, if you will, of passion and anger and joy and determination. This is where the fire starts this time. The eruption when Mr. Paul took the stage was deafening. Now, yes, when Ron Paul hit the stage on UCLA, it just went crazy, massive. I mean, it was like, Michael Jackson came back from the grave or something. So it's great. You got to be there to witness it. Now, we also have from the LA Times, Rick Santorum declines to endorse Mitt Romney. Rick Santorum reportedly declined Monday night to endorse Republican nominee Mitt Romney, instead pointing out that he has not backed a candidate in the race and urging his supporters to vote their conscience. As far as how you vote, that's up to you, Santorum told thousands of supporters during a conference call. I haven't supported any candidate at this point, so that's really up to you. Now, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I really think he's going to come out and endorse Mitt Romney. I wouldn't hold my breath about him endorsing Ron Paul. I kind of think that's really impossible. The powers that be, that's not his job. That's not what he's supposed to do. He was supposed to run a race and then drop out, and that's what he did. So more than likely he'll be endorsing him sooner or later. But it is good that we have an opportunity to get more delegates and bring Santorum voters who thought he was conservative, and now they can find out what it really means to be conservative. Now, this other headline is kind of crazy. Now, upstate New York public school bans use of the word freedom. This is at courtroomobservation.wordpress.com. I picked up this article. It was back on March 24th. It says, students of the 8th grade at Spry Middle School in Webster, New York were banned from using the word freedom and from wearing shirts bearing the word freedom at a school rally on March 4th, 2011. Several weeks earlier, students began organizing a protest campaign planning to shout the word freedom and wear shirts with the word freedom written across the front at the upcoming rally. The protest was in support of a classmate who was suspended, arrested, and put on trial in town court for having a small amount of marijuana. Just minutes before the rally, Principal Dave Swenson took the entire 8th grade class aside and threatened them by saying anyone who says freedom, Free Paul or Rasta or wears the t-shirts with freedom written across the front will be removed from the rally, suspended, and face further consequences. Not to be defeated, the students wore the shirts anyways. They also planned a surprise for the rally. As each class was introduced, there was yelling and screaming, each class trying to outshout the other. When it came time for the 8th grade, the principal made the introduction. Everyone awaited the loudest screams of all, and total silence. With the silent freedom scream, these adult-minded children showed childlike adults the failure of prohibition, the power of protest, and the meaning of freedom. A week and a half later, on March 15, units of the Webster Police and the Monroe County Sheriff's Office entered Spry Middle School, a gun-free zone, heavily armed with batons, tasers, and loaded handguns. There was no 911 call. There was no complaint. Students were held hostage, forced to remain in one place for almost an hour. 3 German Shepherd police dogs were circulated throughout the hallways, barking aggressively and scaring the children in the classrooms. According to eyewitnesses, several students were taken away for interrogation and physically searched by adults not related to them. No arrests were made. In a follow-up email, Principal Swenson told parents of the traumatized children the drill went very well, as we expected. Sure it did. Went very well. Very awesome. And parents should be flipping out over this. Parents should be going crazy that they would do something like this. And that's good for those kids. Those are young Ron Paul supporters. They'll be voting for him soon. They're not 18 yet. They'll be getting in soon. And that's what we got to do. Fight back everywhere. The schools, Fed, the banks. Anyways, you're listening to Occupy the Media, filling in for Hank Xavier. We'll be back.
America is in trouble.
Washington is a disgrace.
Government has become too big. It's overtaxing, overspending.
We need to change direction.
We really need change.
We can't afford to make the same mistakes we've made in the past.
Mitt Romney's reputation as a flip-flopper.
He went the other way when he got paid to go the other way.
There is need for economic stimulus.
It's about serial hypocrisy.
This election is about trust.
There's been one true consistent candidate, and that's Dr. Ron Paul.
Ron Paul has been so consistent